this October monthly town council meeting for Town of Old Liddick. As a reminder, I want to remind everyone that we are being streamed live and recorded, and copies are available on YouTube, and the channel is called Town of Old Liddick. Your presence online or here in the room signifies your consent to being recorded. If you do not wish to be recorded, please leave or disconnect now. Like for you to join me. Like for you to join me for the prayers and open the meeting, and remain standing for the pledge of allegiance. Thank you, Lord, for bringing us together and for the opportunity to serve our community. I pray, Lord, that our focus be on what is right and just and reflect your will. Grant us patience toward each other. Lord, I'd like to ask that you be with Marshall Hickman as he finishes up his ILEA training. Be with his family, Lord, as it takes a sacrifice for him to be away for so long, and just be with his wife and his children, Lord, and grant him safe travels back and forth. And Lord, we have a councilman that is not with us this evening, and he is continuing to battle health issues. Be with his doctors, Lord, and help them find some relief for John, and help John. It just weighs on him because he doesn't feel well, and just be with him, Lord. Put your healing hands upon him if that be your will. Lord, we ask all these things in your name. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Are you okay? Eric, you hit it very well.
No, I didn't. That was embarrassing last time. Now we'll have roll call. Brenda Corey present. John Rowland.
Yes.
John Dillon absent. Steve Kerr.
Present.
Carl Baker.
Here.
Town Attorney Greg Pittman absent. Clerk Treasurer Annette Norick.
Present.
Town Utilities Clerk Carla Hepel. Street and Utility Superintendent Wes Tipton. Of course, we know Marshall Hickman is in training. Okay, we'll start with the minutes approval. The Monday, September 29th, 2025 minutes of the proposed 2026 budget public hearing and the September monthly meeting held at 6:30 p.m. EDT. I think Annette sent those out on October the 5th. Do we have any corrections or changes on those? If not, do I have a motion to accept and approve the September minutes as corrected?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. The Monday, October 13th, 2025 special meeting for adoption of the 2026 budget held at 6:30 p.m. EDT. Are there any corrections or changes?
I would just make a note on this, and that I think in the last paragraph where Brenda adjourns the meeting, I think it's proper to say Brenda Corey made a motion to adjourn the hearing for the budget adoption.
Okay.
Other than that, I'm good.
Okay. Do I have a motion to accept and approve the memo of the executive session after the statement adjournment hearing is added?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. The council will now hear from residents. who are attending and wish to speak, everyone must be signed in, and Marianne is signed in, and, the time limit is 3 minutes per resident. No other topics or questions will be entertained. Marianne?
So I had the two questions, did I just get the one, or?
No, you get whatever you put.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things was, I was wondering on the police force, what we've got now, and, you know, the hours that they work and things like that. And then the second one was going to be, I talked with Brenda about it earlier, I don't know if the rest of you is aware. The 37 intersection down here, they're thinking about making that a J-turn there.
I think, my understanding is they are.
Yeah.
They're doing right now, Washboard Road.
Yeah, Washboard, yeah.
And it's my understanding, weather permitting, they'll move, well, they went up, they did the, turn at Dillman Road in Bloomington.
Yeah.
And they're coming south, is what the state guy told me, because they were over, when they were out surveying, part of their survey and their changes come close to what the town owns as far as property is concerned. So that's the only reason I have the details, and I'll be honest with you, I've studied what they've done at Dillman Road, and I've looked at it online. I'm not convinced it would be any safer.
That's the dumbest thing they ever done.
And how they could even, you know, it's gonna be hard on our guys going over to the, Plantation Center, what's it called down there? Sewer Lake, yeah. And, or even if they come to do the, plowing and stuff, you're gonna have to come from Owodik, turn down that way,
Yeah.
turn around and come back, and they've got a lot of traffic, that's gonna be dangerous.
I think something about 37
Our
and Main.
stoplight is there.
Yes.
Oh, I hope not, because we have a light there already,
Yeah,
and
and
I
it
know
has
we've had
all-
accidents there, but still, there's a light.
And I've been trying since before I got notification at home, documentation on it, emails from them. I tried to get them to resurface that area way before they ever done John Williams Boulevard. And, or even up there on 16th Street.
I fought them on that 2 or 3 years ago, and Janie Chenault on Lawrence County Council's even fought them, and they're not listening to anybody.
No. And then they sent me, I've got where they sent, they're supposed to have it done in 2024, for sure, they told me. And then in, I think in February, they contacted me and said they weren't gonna be able to do it because of funds, blah, blah, blah. And then I got another email where they told me they was gonna be there July the 9th to resurface the road. It says like that, and they didn't come. And so now then, and I got the J-turn thing from the surveyors there. He just told me, he said, don't tell him I told you, but I don't even know his name. He was just saying that. I said, you gotta be kidding.
Right.
So there's no way we can fight that and do any good either, right?
I don't think so.
Early this year, I copied you on it, I think, we got included in a state from Department of Transportation on what they have in mind as far as making 37 safer, right? And they talked about the J-turns, and they talked about high accident at Washboard Road, high accident at Main and 37. I said, well, what about the Avoca turnoff? No, you know, statistics show there's not been that many accidents there. And I said, well, I like to have rumble strips on both sides, because I sat there, was it Friday? No, Thursday, when Bynum was down working over there at the plant. I sat there, the light turned green, and 2 trucks ran. Had I gone ahead, and then 2 or 3 weeks ago, right, we were working here in town, I was headed back to the plant, the guys were behind me, and the light turned green, nobody was coming northbound, but about the time I got into the intersection, a black truck ran going south. And I was in the good car then, that really honked me off.
I've routinely seen folks go through the red there. I would love to see a red light camera. I think that would slow them down.
Well,
If they do threat of tickets.
yeah, but I also think rumble strips, because people try, I've done it, people try to beat the light. But yeah, I've already voiced my opinion, not an engineer, but my opinion in the fact that these J-turns that I've done research on,
They're gonna cause more accidents.
yeah.
and I'm surprised at Avoca, because I know personally 3 folks who have lost their lives there
Yeah, Revoca.
at that intersection.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm surprised about that.
Yeah, not a thing we can do.
Marshall Hickman is in ILEA training, and he will be there till December 17th. He's here on Friday just for a little bit of time to check up and check on things and get caught up. We haven't done anything about bringing anybody else on.
So we don't have any reserves now.
We do have reserves. We have 3 reserves. And, I know, Andrew Riggs is here. He does a lot of our office work and our paperwork and things like that. I'm not sure Brian is back.
Well, according to what
He's
Shane told you and
ready
me,
to come back.
he's ready to come back. It's just a question of Shane getting with
He's
him.
had some, medical issues. We have some ideas, Shane has some ideas, but we're gonna wait till he gets back in the office and then we'll take it from there.
Okay, so that's 2 of the reserves, but what's the 3rd one? You
What
got-
is his name? I can't remember. You guys remember what his name is?
Coleman.
Coleman.
Yeah, Coleman, yeah.
Are they just reserves, are they doing any trafficking, or are they just, if someone calls, or,
They,
we
they,
don't see anybody over in our addition anymore.
well, since Ryan left September 9th, you wouldn't, because Ryan was the daily. And then was it the next week that after Ryan left, Shane went to the academy. He's up in Plainfield. That I did.
And, yeah, he's, yeah.
And then you knew Hagan left. Yeah. Hagan took a daytime job, promotion with IU Health and Bedford, IU Health Police in Bedford. So he's over there now, full-time day shift. So, yeah, we have no one right now.
The speeders over there is just unbelievable. I mean, they go 40, 50 miles an hour. That stop sign wise, I just wish just take stop signs out, because the only people that stop are a few of us neighbors that do stop. And the rest of them just, and I slow some of them down, I will say that. That some of them, they just fly right through it.
We've got,
It's like that everywhere.
we've
That's
got a
my
speed
road too.
limit sign that we'll post over there. It's charging in the marshal's office now. I have to download the software to my cell phone to use it. But we can actually put it up, and it's one of these like what Bedford's got, as you approach it, it'll tell you
You
what your
had it up
speed
there for
is.
a while.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're gonna put it back up facing the other direction and see what it does. We had the same complaint from Marilyn and Jim Reams as far as Hall Avenue is concerned.
Yeah.
But when we put it up on Hall, out of all the traffic, there were only 3 cars that were actually speeding.
How about when you had it over there in ours?
I don't remember.
I don't
Ryan,
recall
I have to
hearing,
look that up. We've got that on paper.
but, yeah,
One of the-
recall,
One of the things this sign does, it's Bluetooth and it's related. You can download it to your phone, then upload it to your computer, and it'll actually give you a report and tells you what hour it found it, what its approach speed was, and what its end speed was. So once I put it up over there, well, I'm gonna say that the charge lasts for 4 days. After the 4th day, we take it down. I can dump the report and I'll give you a copy of it. But gives the volume of traffic as well.
but we hope to be back to normal here, middle of December, when Shane gets back.
The other item that's still pending on speeding, we've talked about it. We found there is no state code that prevent Molytic from doing it. But I believe there, and I think over at Hall, even though our speed sign didn't show that many speeders, I think we need to install speed limits.
Pretty nice. And where would you put them at if you had them over there already?
I would probably put one at the or at the, let's say you're coming from the plant, towards your house, I would probably put one as I come up that hill before I get to Knife Creek.
But I agree with all that, I think, because I, sit right across too. I think I would love to see one northbound and southbound, right there at the line that they should stop at. So we'll know when you look at it if they stop or not, and if they don't stop, it's gonna be real painful. And I hope they'd only have to hit that thing once to realize, oop, there is a stop sign, and we do
So
care
does
about
that
that.
record what kind of car it was too, or what's,
I'm sorry?
it doesn't record it, okay,
The,
it's the data.
yeah, they were both given to us. We applied for a grant and they were paid for. We didn't use town money to buy them. And you can buy the devices that actually read the license number,
Oh,
but they were quite a bit more expensive. And the only party that can then download and look at the report is a law officer. Because it'll actually upload and tell you who it is and where they live.
that's what you need, because it, just going by and say, y'all got speeders is not gonna solve the problem.
Right.
Well, no, I don't know if, Steve heard that night, did you hear the gunfire about 12:17 that night? There was 5 bangs and then,
Is it after midnight?
yeah, 12:17.
I sleep through that stuff fortunately,
Well,
so.
we'll open us up, and, I go looked out and didn't really see any activity, but anyway, I did call the sheriff's department, and I will say they was out there in no time, and they came out and had floodlights and was looking around and,
Could you tell, you couldn't tell exactly where?
because it woke us up, really, see, so we just both startled, and so behind, I knew it was behind my house someplace, I was back, Jim thought it was right that way, and I just, it was past my house, but wasn't sure.
I called the marshal's department, well, actually I called 911, it was about 2 years ago, and it was about 12-something, woke me up. And like I say, I sleep through a lot of that, so it must have been real close to my house. And as it turns out, that night, the marshal was on duty and, county police, both them were in our neighborhood within like 3 minutes. I was like, they must have been right in town. Because I thought, how is that?
They're here in town, their presence, I mean, I see them constantly. I mean, they're driving around, no matter where I go in Olynyk, I see a car, so they're here.
Okay.
So
That's
they're
good.
close. So that's,
You-
I'm just not real worried, about Shane not being here, because I know they're here as
Okay.
well. And they know that Shane's gone, so they're,
Yeah, county's aware
they're
that
aware of it.
we're without until he comes back in December.
Well, I called him back after the incident, cause I seen him come, and I told him, I said, I'm the woman that called, and I said, I wanna tell you, I really appreciate how quickly they got here. I said, you be sure and tell the officers, cause, gunfire, I hate to even call them, cause I hate to get them involved in something like that, but you never know, so,
You know.
okay. That's all I had.
Okay. All right, we'll move on to old business. American Legal Publishing, we have nothing more to add since last month.
If the wastewater plant will settle down and run right,
Yeah,
I was actually, had started doing all that late last week until the wastewater plant decided to go belly up.
okay, Carl, do you have any significant update on the grant and process of the setting up the 501c for restoration of the fire garage?
Yeah, we're in a bit of a holding pattern on a number of items. I'll just mention those. The firehouse, we're still waiting for Silver Creek's engineers' structural assessment report. I guess they're kind of busy in the engineering department lately. I'd expected that, but we're still waiting on that. The tornado siren, we're waiting as well. The grant window on the Indiana Department of Homeland Security grant closed on September the 24th, and it it takes a period of time for them to review and grade and score and approve and send out awards and whatnot. I don't have an idea on the time frame we're looking at, but there is a document called the post-award guidance document that I'm gonna review and see if I can get some more answers there. The Community Crossings Municipal Grant, October is the CCMG month, and we've been real busy with that. It's consumed most of my month, and that grant application has been successfully submitted to NDOT, and if I remember, I expect to hear something about that in the next, within the next 60 days, I think. If I remember right, that's kind of the way that went. The Oolitic Heritage Restoration Fund, here it is again. We're waiting on responses for work and things that we've already done. We filed for the tax exempt status through the IRS, and we're waiting on the determination letter from the IRS that I don't expect to hear anything from them until December 23rd, giving them, that would be 90 days. I've been told it takes 90 days to receive a determination letter on that. The Oolitic Heritage Restoration Fund is looking forward to the 2026 grant season. And as always, we're actively researching grant opportunities for the Oolitic community. There is something I can do right now, and we're working on our 2025 asset management plan. It's more complicated this year than it was last year. We'll be adding the newly adopted roadways into our town's inventory and registering them with LTAP. Purdue University worked closely with NDOT. All of the road segments will be re-inspected this year, staying in time with our 2-year cycle of inspecting roadways, and they'll receive a PASSER certification. PASSER stands for Pavement Service Evaluation and Rating. A revised 5-year road treatment plan summary is being developed, and we face a December 31st deadline, and we're on schedule. And that's all I have in my report today.
Thank you. Anyone have any questions? I'll make that clear as a bell for you. Okay. There were 3 items of discussion in the September council meeting for the Polycorp project, and I'm gonna turn that over to John.
Yeah,
We have 3 ordinances, correct? 3 ordinances.
right. The first time we talked about was establishing a fund within the accounting system to track all the Polycorp money coming in. The $85,000 check we've received will be, the account will be created tomorrow or Wednesday, and the check will be at the bank on tomorrow or Wednesday. And then with this fund, we'll also track the annual $8,500 that we'll get from them. So there'll be a whole separate account, stand on its own, and if we need to report on it or report back to them with it, we can easily do that with a separate fund. It is a tax deduction for them, so they may come to us with proof or wanting proof just for the tax report. So ordinance 13/2025 basically says we need to establish a public or road maintenance fund where the money deposited into said fund is solely used for purpose of maintenance and upkeep of roads and streets within the town limits of the town of Old Lake. Can't be used for anything else. I've shared with Annette what I felt the name should be. I've actually got it here on the ordinance. So to that end, I'm gonna put a motion on the floor for this council to accept, adopt, and approve ordinance 13-2025, which will be an account titled Polycore Road Maintenance. Have a second?
I'll second.
Carl. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. All right, in order to make this effective tonight, put a second motion on the floor to suspend the rules for this council so that we can approve ordinance 13-2025 tonight. Second to that,
I'll second.
Carl. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. All right, putting a third and final motion on the floor for the council to approve ordinance 13-2025. Second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. There's the ordinance for signatures, and once attested by Annette, we're good to go. It does not need to be advertised. Our second ordinance, we also discussed, and part of the agreement we have with Polycore, and it's part of the Polycore contract, is that the speed limit would be at 20, and that we would take and increase the weight limit, which is presently 8 tons, to 40 tons. And as Carl pointed out in a couple of emails, when we get the CCMG grant in the spring, we'll mill that portion of Hoosier completely down to the concrete, which is the old Indiana Highway 37, and renew all the blacktop from Main Street north to Lafayette. So this ordinance 14 is basically taking the weight limit and increasing it. One of the items that I put in as a sub-item to the weight limit and codes, that's Title 8, Traffic Code Chapter 7, Section 70.03, Hoosier Avenue from Main Street north to the intersection of Lafayette Avenue has a weight limit of 80,000 pounds or 40 tons without a permit. This increase will permit Polycore trucks hauling limestone to travel this stretch of Hoosier Avenue loaded or unloaded. Any questions, discussion? And signs have been ordered. We have the speed limit signs, Wes has those. We'll put new poles up, he needs to call in locates. And we have a sign coming, 2 of them. One of them says load limit 80,000, 40 tons, 80,000 pounds and 40 tons. We have another one that says no engine braking. And the 3 sets of those signs will be posted.
Oh, here's by my daughter.
It was her daughter, sorry, come in. I wouldn't know to turn right back in.
I was gonna say, I heard that front door. Any discussions or questions? All right. Therefore, putting a motion on the floor for this council to adopt, approve ordinance 14-2025, which raises the weight limit from 8 tons to 40 tons, only on the northmost section of Lafayette. That's from Main Street north, or I'm sorry, on Hoosier. From Main Street north on Hoosier to Lafayette. Second to that motion. Brendan. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Also, to make this ordinance effective tonight, putting a second motion on the floor for this council to suspend the rules to approve ordinance 14-2025. Second? Brenda. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, putting a third and final motion on the floor for this council to approve ordinance 14-2025. Second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Here's this one for signatures. All right. Third and final is ordinance 15-2025. This basically is taking the current posted 30-mile-an-hour speed limit on that one section of Hoosier, so from Main north to Lafayette, decreases it from 30 miles an hour to 20. And that was also stated within the contract with Polycor. Now, one of the things we'll have to have, and all the council needs to drive occasionally and see it or monitor it. Of course, when Shane comes back, he needs to do some monitoring. The trucks and the drivers are subcontracted by Polycor. So Polycor has no control over them. But when I talked to Duffy the other day, he is more than in tune of calling all the truck contractors they use and say, hey guys, here are the rules. You need to follow them. Otherwise, you're talking about a $135 ticket if the marshal stops you. Questions? Discussion? All right. So putting a motion on the floor for the council to accept, approve, and adopt ordinance 15-2025. Raising the speed limit, lowering the speed limit from 30 to 20. Second,
I'll second that.
Steve. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Like the other two ordinances, we're gonna put a second motion on the floor to suspend the rules for this council to approve ordinance 15-2025 tonight. Second,
Second?
Steve. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. All right, in accordance with that, I'm gonna put a third motion on the floor, third and final, for this council to approve ordinance 15-2025.
Second that?
Steve. In favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. Ordinances are done. And this one, Annette, does need to be published. I questioned Greg on it, but he says since it's actually changing the speed limit and there are residents on that portion of Hoosier, we need to advertise it.
Okay.
And
that was-
I've noted that here.
Okay, and that was the third one,
Yes,
ordinance
15.
15-25. Okay.
Right.
I wonder if I checked all those, check my name off that one, the first one.
I don't think I had an
Sign copy.
A or an A
You
on the
did.
first one.
Yeah.
You don't, you didn't, okay.
13-25 is done, 14-25 is done.
Yes.
I think only one of those are required to check. Or did they-
There's check boxes on it.
There was no check boxes on the first one. Officially, according to Greg, we don't need the I or the nay since we have it as formal in the minutes. I just cloned old ordinances and I didn't change anything more than what I had to.
Okay, we'll move on to new business if no one has any other old business. I think in the past, and correct me if I'm wrong, Annette, or any of the board, we've posted a formal notice for for the night that we can trick or treat, and we've always done it on the 31st, is that correct?
Yeah, normally we follow what Bedford did, and I think theirs have generally always been on Halloween, unless for some reason it was on a Sunday or something, and then I think they would have it on Saturday.
So, I'm saying that we need to have it on the 31st from 6 PM to 9 PM. And if residents wish to participate, they turn on the porch light, we'll have that announced.
Thanks for the
Thank you,
entertainment.
guys.
Sure. Great to
See
see
how to go.
And we'll have that announced too.
Right.
And if porch lights off, they should know
Right.
that people are on to.
Facebook, town's page, WBIW.
Yeah, also ask Carla to move a copy of it, or share a copy of it to the marshal's page.
Okay,
Right.
okay,
We need to keep that updated and active
okay.
with Shane on it.
Okay, so I'm putting a motion on the floor to have, Halloween, trick or treat on Olytic, on Friday, October the 31st from 6 to 9 PM. And if residents wish to participate, they turn on the porch light. Do I have a second?
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. We probably need to discuss, Christmas on Main, or is there gonna be Christmas on Main this year, or no?
I think we ought to do it. I mean,
We need to continue with the tradition.
yeah, and I had so many of the people, as I wandered the streets on Truck or Treat, I had so many of the people that asked. And I had 2 or 3 of the cars that were parked in front of the antique mall actually look at me and said, we are gonna do something at Christmas, right? And I said, yes. So I think we should, I think we need.
I apologize for not coming, I couldn't, my legs just did not,
It's,
my legs were good.
Well,
it's
I
a,
was beat by the
I couldn't do it.
time I walked around and doing what I did.
yeah, I'm gonna formally thank John for showing up and
My
sticking
gout,
through it.
my gout flared up so bad
Yeah.
from being on my feet all day and the day before, you know.
'Cause
just didn't-
I moved the Taurus out to Hoosier and Maine with a orange cone, and then we had enough orange cones in the garage. I put my truck and the orange cones up here blocked. And, well, I sent a picture to the board. I couldn't believe the crowd.
Yeah.
Right after it started, people started funneling in, they were backed up all the way past the Taurus and had wrapped around the sidewalk by the bank.
In about an hour, hour and a half, everybody was pretty well finished. There were a lot of others going on. October was a hard month. A lot of people had things already committed.
There were,
Was it like a good crowd?
7 other trunk or treats.
Yeah.
Same night.
Yeah.
Saturday night, yeah.
I
That I knew of.
I personally believe, and I think a lot of other people would like to see more festivals or festivities in town. We've talked, and you've already put it on the table, that we'll do something in May for Carl Kinzer. I think we kind of need to adopt the fact, regardless of the funds, we'll do a truck or treat and we'll do a Christmas on May, at a minimum. And if funds become that part of the problem, I'll pay for it out of my pocket.
I can help there too.
Do we need to set a date tonight, or is it, okay, I think we should set the date tonight, don't you think?
We normally
Sit
have
back till
it.
November, cause November's kinda late to.
Yeah, if it's like, yeah, if it's November meeting, we normally have it the Saturday after the parade,
Bedford's correct,
Bedford's parade.
which is when we.
I don't have their date yet.
Maybe find it here.
Christmas is on a Thursday. Our meeting is on the 29th.
Saturday, December sixth.
is the Christmas parade.
It's Bedford
I think
Christmas Parade.
I think it is early this year.
I'm sure this isn't last year's date. Yeah, Saturday the sixth,
Okay,
at 6 p.m. is the parade.
so do you wanna shoot for the 13th?
We could do the 13th.
Because the 20th is pretty close to.
That would be Saturday, right, the following Saturday?
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, I put a motion on the floor that we hold the, Christmas on Main on December 13th. What time do we usually?
I wanna say we did like 6:30 to 8:30. But if we set the date, then we can arrange the times.
So-
6:30 to 8:30, did you say? Or that's potential?
We can put tentatively.
Seems tentatively to be held from 6:30 to 8:30 on December 13th. Do I have a second?
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Did you say aye, Carl?
I did, I'm an aye,
Okay.
December 13th.
Bah humbug.
Okay.
It's my line.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, I think. Okay, item number 12, you know all about those earmarks.
Yeah, our next items, 12 through 15, are motions, unfortunately, to spend some money. You're all aware, 2 emails I sent out, plus pictures, that the augers in the liquor tank have failed. And they failed due to the mess of crap, debris, hairbrushes, toothbrushes, Mountain Dew cans, had all accumulated in the center. And the function of the liquor tank is the primary collector as it comes up from the wet wells. So it's the first drop off, and everything is piped into the center of the liquor tanks. And so it's, and because there is no outlet in the bottom, there's nowhere for this stuff to go or to be spread out. But the auger keeps everything active, kind of like an air tank in a fishbowl. It keeps enough action in the water and oxygen to keep the bugs and the bacteria alive. So one of the things that I put out, and I came in and was really hot when I found the Mountain Dew can, really set me off. I came in and unloaded on Annette and Carla. And Carla sat there while I was, and you came in later, and came up with a nice little cartoon to put on Facebook, and I shared that with y'all. I want to post it to the town's Facebook page. I want to put it on the Marshall's page, and I'm looking for approval. I'm going to put a motion on the floor to also put it on WBIW. Anybody got any heartburn with those 3 postings?
No.
All right. Motion for this council to approve to post Carla's notice on items of what you should not flush to the wastewater treatment plant. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Steve? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries.
I was at the plant this morning and I saw, it was like a, not bronze color, what do you call it, like aluminum color, pretty big impeller. Is that
That's
the
it.
center? Okay, I saw that, walked up to the top and I'm like,
Yeah, it was suspended by a rope from the catwalk.
Yep.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, and of course Murphy's Law, right? The east tank failed and a week later the west tank failed. The plant's still operational. It's still pumping what it should. One of the risks we run with no impeller or auger is the lack of oxygen for the bacteria. So one of the items I have here is a motion to spend up to $600 to reseed the east and west sewer liquor tanks if needed. And I say if needed. Once we get the augers, get everything cleaned out, get the augers back in, get the big gearboxes and the motors back operational, we'll do a test. And it's the ammonia test. If there's a high number for ammonia within the tanks, we'll have to reseed it. Now, we were lucky and only had to do one reseeding. We had to reseed both of them, but only one truckload when the flood hit us in March and April. So again, we'll cross our fingers, but when Bynum was here, when Jeff Farmer was here from Bynum last week, he pointed out to me that the west tank, which is still active, is taking all the in source of the sewage right now. In the center of the tank, where the auger should be, you could see air bubbles. And according to Jeff, that's a sign that the bacteria and the bugs are not surviving. The foam, and I'll call it a foam or a suds on top, is white. It should be a dark brown. So I believe, because of the time it'll take to get new gearboxes and motors in, I firmly believe we'll have to do a reseed. And
Way too long.
we'll actually have Bynum, we'll contract with Bynum for the $600, and they'll go up to Ellettsville and take a load out of those liquor tanks and bring it down here and pump it into ours. So a motion to spend the $600 if needed. Second,
I second.
Brenda. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. I was waiting on a call, and so I think I'm gonna scratch number 14. I was waiting on a call from Bynum with a dollar amount for their vacuum truck. They spent a day and a half over there last week, and my count, before I left the plant, they made 5 trips. Right? It's a 5,000 gallon vacuum tank. And once it got full, we called Bedford. Bedford was good with it. So we'll also have an invoice from Bedford for dumping, right, what Bynum pumped out. So I'm gonna scratch 14 tonight because I don't have a firm dollar amount for Bynum. And we also don't have a dollar amount estimate for Bedford.
Oh,
John, I've
14's,
got
14's reseeding,
Receiving.
so you want 15?
Yes.
15 to 5 trips,
Well, what I didn't do to my master, I didn't add in the Halloween.
okay.
Okay.
Yes.
So take out 15.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's the Bynum Faneuil invoice with no dollar amount.
okay, and then number 12, I think we skipped I think your number 12 was Carlos Post.
Yes.
That's it.
Okay. So our number 12 is the new offers. Okay.
So, motion on the floor, and this was Jeff Farmer's recommendation, that's why I'm going with this. Motion on the floor to approve the purchase of 2 new gearboxes and 2 new motors that drive the augers for the east and west sewage liquor tanks in the amount of $13,500. They're $67.50 a piece, plus shipping. They're pretty good size, heavy units. I suspect shipping will be a pretty pricey dollar amount. Coming from Venice Beach, Florida.
Let's do a road trip.
I question the motors, but the motors, the augers, and the gearboxes were installed in 2012 with a major upgrade of the plant. The average life expectancy of those motors is 8 to 10 years. Well, they've been there 13. Now, they both still work, but it was farmer's opinion, for the difference, it was better to have 2 new installs, and then you don't have to worry about them. Take 2 old motors, clean them up, put them on the shelf, and you got them for backup. They're a small motor, they're not near the size of pumps or other motors we've had rebuilt, like what we took out of the Cantex. They're a small motor, they're only a 1 horsepower, right? But they turn all the time, 24/7, 365.
How many horsepower did you say?
1. It's a 1 horsepower electric, 240 volt motor. So again, we pay Jeff Farmer for his advice on sewer. He's a class 4 licensed technician for sewage. I think we go with his recommendation. Discussion? Questions?
Sounds like most of the money here is in the, auger gears, not a 1 horsepower
Right.
electric motor.
If I remember correctly, well, it's not on this one, the motors, new motors are only $400 a piece. The price of $67.50, I believe, if I remember the invoice correctly, when I asked for an invoice without motors, was only $63.50. So it's like Jeff said, spending an additional $400 per tank is a pretty good insurance policy. And again, Murphy's Law, I can see us putting new gearboxes, and a couple, 6 months down the road or next year, and we've got a bad motor.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea to replace these now, since they're in their 11th hour anyway, and,
Right.
and labor to replace them is gonna be a lot more than the cost of these motors while you're already in there.
Right. And we, when I say we, Wes, Chris, and Jace, and this friend of Wes's, Fudgy, are the ones who actually took apart the east tank. So they're familiar and they're ready to do the install. So we don't even have to call Bynum to come down and do it for us. The other information that Wes and I have agreed upon, at a minimum, Jeff Farmer suggests the center of the tank be drained once a year and evaluate what's in the base of it. Well, what Wes and I decided we'll do is come May or June of next summer, we'll drain it then and see what's accumulated. And that should give us an idea of how far we can go. Can we go a year? Might be even able to go a year and a half. But we'll have to periodically check the base of the center. And the only way to do that is pump out the center. And we can pump out the center without pumping out the outer ring. So,
In the centers where we find the debris.
yeah.
Oh, yeah. I think that makes great sense.
The center is approximately 7 foot round and 20 feet deep. So it's a good sized tank. So I have a motion on the floor to spend the $13,500. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Steve? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Wes has some homework to measure, take a picture of the shaft of the auger, the spinner. Also measure it. From what I could tell, it was solid steel, which is what they need to know. Solid versus hollow will make a difference in the gears. And take all that information, measure it, and the length of the rod, and send all that to them. So I'm anticipating it'll probably be the end of this week before a formal order is placed. And then we'll have to work with you once we place it. Part of their agreement is 50% down
Okay.
on order. So my thought off the top of my head is We can't put that on the bank card, because the credit limit's not there. So what I'd like to do, and I'll talk to these people in Florida, get their routing transit ABA number and their checking account number, and we'll actually just wire the deposit to them. And we can do that through Jackson County.
Right, that works.
All right. So that takes care of the motors and the gears. We've got Carla's, the reseed, our final one, which should be 16 on your,
16
RH Marlin invoice.
because the rags and trash were so thick, Bynum's vacuum truck could not pull it apart, could not dilute it. We tried diluting it with a fire hose, and it made a little bit of difference. Jace called RH Marlin, they're a sewer septic system out of Martinsville. They came down with, and I think I shared with the board a picture of the truck. They had a 6-inch hose, and then they had a wand, like what you find at the car wash, high pressure. Only this wand put out 4,000 pounds of pressure. Literally, when they tuned it up, and the guy did everything, was able to control everything remotely, Bluetooth with the truck. Literally, that 4,000 pounds of pressure out of that hose literally just sliced the whole stack of trash. They just kind of went down, and as they did, then Chris stood there with the fire hose to dilute what was cut. But it literally took 4,000 pounds of pressure to dissolve the accumulation of everything in the base of the tank. The guy from Marlin, he says, I do this all the time, but he says, I've never seen a mound of trash and collection of debris to the point that we had no lid. Wes can't remember the last time tanks were drained. I've been wanting to do it for the last 2 years, drain and clean them.
I know we talked about it,
We've talked about it, and see, we did drain the sludge tank
we drained the sludge.
and cleaned that,
So, yeah.
but we've never gotten, had we done it last year when Farmer and I talked about it, because I also would like to do both clarifiers, we might have avoided this problem. But it's a question of Wes's time and everything else going on in town, and then getting by them. So now we've learned our lesson, costly lesson. It'll have to be looked at annually at the very most to determine, do we need to call a vacuum truck to pick it up? And Bynum vacuum truck, if it's just the regular debris, could easily clean it. So I'm hoping going forward, we don't have to call Marlin back. Their bill, and I gave the copy to Annette, and I signed it for the work they did. They charged us 6 hours, 4 hours on site from 8 to noon, and then 2 hours travel time at $260 an hour. That's $1,560. We'll probably be invoiced shortly on it. But we might as well go ahead and approve another run for the west tank, because we know that auger and the gear is also messed up. So we need to count on the fact that we'll have to clean it out as well. So putting a motion on the floor for this board to approve RH Marlin invoice for the vacuuming the center rings of the east and west sewage liquor tanks. 2 tanks, 6 hours at $260 is $1,560 for one, and to pay for the other one would be a total of $3,120. Any further discussion? Second,
Second.
Brenda. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. And here is, pass it down, brought this for Annette. There is actually the quote for the gearboxes and the motors. And it gives all the particulars, the company, because I assume we probably need to do the same thing with them, contact them, send them 105 form,
Right. Set them up as a vendor,
set them up as a vendor.
and then I can talk to them then about the ACH and wire transfer.
Right.
That's the same.
Okay.
That's all new business that I'm aware of.
Okay. Okay, we'll move on to department reports. Annette, do you have any?
Well, okay, let's go down the list here, the, 2026 budget, Steve and I got everything submitted in on that. Everything has been, given us the green light for that. The next, item then will be the 1782 notice that will be sent out for us to, sign and go further on with the adoption for next year, of the budget. And we probably will not see the 1782 notice until December. So, but other than that, everything's fine with the, budget. I don't have any, invoices out of the norm. I do have the building permit for, Tina Nugent, which was for a, lofted barn, shed that Wes has already gone out and approved. And then I had one,
Let's go ahead and deal that one first.
okay,
So put a motion on the floor to approve a lofted barn building for Tina Nugent. What's her address?
she is, 202 Nykerk Lane.
Yeah, 202 Nykerk, over in the Rolling Acres. Put a motion on the floor to approve that building permit. Wes has checked it out. Do I have a second?
Second.
Carl? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. The reason I split that up is we've got a second one that Wes hasn't checked.
Okay, and this one is for 221 Indiana Avenue, which will be a 12 by 20 foot heavy-duty metal carport. It is already, to my knowledge, it is already pre-fabbed, pre-made, and will be one that they will just bring in and set up. And we just need, upon contingent of Wes going out and looking at it and making sure that it's okay on his side.
So putting a motion on the floor to allow a carport to be installed at 221 Indiana Avenue.
Yes.
Contingent on Wes giving the okay.
Yes.
Do I have a second?
Yes.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries.
John, did you second that one?
John?
Yes.
Okay.
Whose house is the 221 Indiana?
It's a new resident, Luke Justice. It's a house that just sold.
And I guess I should have asked on the one on Nykerk Lane, it's a lofted shed. So it's a small shed, but it's just lofted.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I walk by that house every day and I'm trying to think, it must be in the backyard, so.
I believe so, yeah. They've already got a concrete pad poured, so it'll just be one that's brought in and set up, so, yeah. And I don't have anything else.
Anybody have any questions on financial reports for Annette? No one? Okay, move on to utilities update. Anything for us there?
There wasn't anything out of the norm. I know Carla's waiting on, some reads, from Wes for the, what am I looking for, same number?
Zero reads.
Yeah, December reads, but there was some that he needed to go out and do, evaluation on.
Yeah, well, the zero reads is what
Right.
she's,
Yeah.
Yeah.
She had some questions.
Yeah.
he's been staying busy with wastewater that,
Okay, good.
yeah, I told him to put it on back burner.
Yeah.
We need to continue to do it, yes, but
Data lock is the word that I was looking for. Yeah, yeah. But yeah, he's been busy, so we, yeah.
Okay. Okay, do I have a motion to approve this month's water adjustments?
so moved.
Go ahead. Yeah. All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, wait a minute, I need a second. Do I have a second?
I'll second this.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. The Excel sheet with details of the expenses was distributed. Any questions on any of those charges?
I'm just curious, what is a Cut Supreme? For Detroit Tool, it was like $500 a meal, that is?
That's a month, I'm pretty sure. Pretty sure you got the wrong paper. You're handing that.
Could be.
That's
Do you know what
probably
cuts?
February.
I believe Cut Supreme is probably like a big, round rotary saw blade probably for concrete.
Okay, that would make sense.
What's your total on that sheet?
18,126.89.
That's the wrong one.
That's the one, it's always on February, it blows me up every time I open that, I'm 18,000. Yeah,
How about 11/20/91, Steve? That sounds better.
I like that, that's lower.
I'm
Okay.
familiar with that number, I see
Well,
it
that's
every
what I've got
month.
right here.
Mhm.
I've seen it right on
And if I hadn't,
February report.
asked about that number, I'd never have realized it. Okay, you want your ready?
Okay, so no questions, Steve?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the invoices for water and sewer in the amount of $1,120.91?
So moved.
Do I have a second to that motion?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Last thing is the utility report, Debbie.
No, I haven't seen a thing.
Okay, and I know we don't have anything from Shane. So there'll be a report there. So we'll move on to council member updates. I don't have anything other than what we've already discussed this evening, so. John, do you have anything?
I've got 5 items. Putting a question on the board here. One of the things I've seen a lot of activity in the simple list emails. What's everybody's feeling on these storage containers, these shipping containers that you can buy and set down? Some of the emails that I run across, people are buying them and putting them in their front yard. So one of the asks I have out to Greg is, they're great big overgrown, nasty looking things, right? Do we allow them? And if so, I think we need an ordinance to say where they can be placed and where they can't be placed. So no front yards or no side of the house where it's visible from the street.
They can't be lived in.
Can't be lived in, good point, that I hadn't thought of. I don't know why, but I just feel like one of these days, we're gonna get a request, right? And may not get a request, you can't tell, but I also think we need an ordinance governing what they can do with them, what they can't do with them. And the fact that if you're gonna buy one and have it installed, you also need to do a building permit. Because we don't need it sitting in the yard somewhere over the water meter or over the sewer line.
I would think if it's not like something, when they clean out a house and have it there for 4 years or something, it ought to be a building permit item.
Right. Whether they use it as a permanent storage on the property, off and on, and I guess I'd be okay with it again, depending upon where we decide it needs to land. I asked Greg, I searched Mitchell's ordinances, didn't find anything. I was told Bedford has one. I couldn't find it, so I've asked Greg to check Bedford's ordinance. So again, just food for thought. I'm not prepared to do anything tonight on it.
Yeah, I think we put a lot of teeth into it, and I think, cause I know what folks are buying those for
Right.
to live in, and we need, I mean, I'm not opposed to somebody, you know, if that's what they have to do, but we need to have some
Yeah.
restrictions on what it has to be set up like
Right.
in order to do that.
So that leads me into my second one. We've talked about this, I know I have with Wes, I know I did with Zach some time ago, and talked to Ryan about, I don't know that I've ever mentioned it to you guys. I would like to have an ordinance that kind of goes into some building code. I think if they're gonna build a new house, we ought to have so many feet set back from the road or from the sidewalk. And the reason I bring this up is this whole thing with the carport at Nolan, Nolan, over in the manor. When we got a hold of their building codes, building restrictions, they have a setback. And if you notice, as you drive down 9th or 10th, most of the property's a lawn. Well, I think we need something like that here. But I'm more especially concerned with a couple of properties that people are living in here today that have no water. Right, so I'm assuming they're buying bottled water or buying big things of water like what Annette and Carla have in the office. But how are they handling their bathroom? What are they showering with? What are they brushing their teeth with? Bedford has, and I've seen on listserv, I've gone out and looked there, there are a couple of ordinances out there that state a home must have hot and cold running water, right, to live in. Because, I mean, you almost can't do without, right? There's also one of the ordinances out there I kind of like to plagiarize that talks about if there is a bathroom, how it's supposed to be set up. And I'm not so sure I want to go that deep, but I'll share it with you. But I've asked Greg on it to also research Bedford, because Bedford's got an ordinance that says you have to have running water. You can't live in a home without running water. You just can't do it. And one situation, I'll give you an example, is the home down here, the trailer on South Lafayette, 9th and Lafayette, or, no, it's 10th, yeah, it's 9th and Lafayette. They don't have any water, haven't had water for a couple of years or more, right? So they're not paying storm fee, they're not paying trash fee, but yet we pick their trash up.
Where are they dumping the water that they use?
Or, no,
Yeah.
or sewer then, for that matter.
Yeah, if they don't have sewer, where are they,
Salt Creek.
down the creek?
Well, I mean, you
My
know-
opinion, down the hill behind them, because they,
Right.
yeah,
So you probably figure it can be absorbed, but that's not, yeah, I'd have issues with that.
yeah, I do too.
To my knowledge, I think that they now have, their water is back
Do they?
on. I believe so,
Okay.
because I believe they're now paid in full.
As of 6 months ago, they did not.
Right, but I'm just talking like last week maybe.
Okay.
That was just a quick conversation that Carla and I had, and I think maybe that was brought up, that they, don't quote me on that, but I believe that is,
See, if we had just a minor ordinance of requiring running water, right? I served them twice this summer for weeds and trash in the front yard. They cut the weeds and they picked up some of the front yard, but not all of it. So I was thinking I'd love to take them to court, cite them for an ordinance violation, not only on the property, but also an ordinance violation of no water. Well, I'd have to put that ordinance in effect and pass it before I can do that. So I wanted to just, again, throw it out for thought. Between now and November, if Greg and I can get our act together, I'll probably present an ordinance for that. My next item is something Ryan kind of pushed us on, and I think he even pushed you on a little, Brenda, where we should have an ordinance governing golf carts, mini bikes, electric bikes, scooters, right? I did, and I shared these with Greg, I did go out to the IC on 2025 legislation, and I found 5 IC codes, right, governing golf carts, mini bikes, electrics, and my next order here, we can kind of combine them, is ORVs, off-road vehicles. All right, and I found 2 on it, 2 IC numbers on it governing off-roads. So the question I got out to Pittman is there enough teeth in these codes for us to enforce? Or do we need something more individually for a living? Now, you and I have had this conversation. I don't want to ban them.
I don't either.
I mean, I've got a golf cart and I like riding it.
That's why you live in a small town, so you
Right.
can have some of those.
It's not like we're in a big city, so I don't want to ban them, and I'll be honest with you personally, I don't want a lot of teeth in it. Now, I do believe if you're gonna be on the road, and one of these IC codes talks about, if you're gonna be on the road, it needs lights. It ought to have turn signals, but they didn't push that. Now, mine has turn signals.
Mine does too.
Mine has brake lights, right? And must have at least, according to the state code, 1 headlight if you're gonna drive it from dusk or dark. I don't mind having that kind of restrictions because to me that's safety.
It's already a law that you have to be 16 to drive one, is that correct?
That's correct.
I think Ryan told me that, it's already
Yes.
law.
And depending upon the size of the off-road vehicle, they must have a valid Indiana driver's license.
Right.
Now, they don't have to have a valid driver's license, just 16 to do a golf cart. And the other IC that's out there, and only about half of them have it, also supposed to have a slow moving vehicle triangle on the back.
I wanna say it's up to 49 cc's, I believe.
Is it? Yeah, there's a certain engine size
And
where,
then, and that was one of the things when you, mentioning like with the mini bikes, even like mopeds, if they were 15 and had a learner's permit, then that also constituted for them to be able to be on something that was up to 49 cc's.
Yeah.
But anything like 49 cc's and above, then that actually qualified as an actual motorcycle.
so anyway, these 2 items, golf carts, mini bikes, electric bikes, dirt bikes, and off-road vehicles, I've given Greg these codes, and I've asked for his recommendation.
Will
So-
these vehicles be insured in some way?
There is nothing currently in the state code that mandates it. Now, what I was surprised at, I called USAA, my insurance carrier, and when I said something about it, adding a golf cart, she says, sir, that's considered part of your homeowners, you're automatically covered. Which kind of surprised me.
Surprised me.
And that's
And-
just for the golf carts?
Well, that's all I know about because that's all I called on. And I did ask her to make sure to separate it. I have an umbrella liability policy with USAA. And I also have a director's and officer's insurance policy to cover me in this position. So I asked her, I said, so I have this extra coverage. That's not what you're talking about on my golf cart. She said, no, sir, you have homeowners. And she says, if something would happen to you or to the cart, your homeowner's insurance would kick in. I didn't even have to add it to the policy. Now, she made note of it, of course, but I was very surprised. Now, I don't know what other insurance companies would say, and I didn't see anything I didn't read this code in real detail, Carl, but I glanced over all of them. I didn't see anything about requiring insurance. See, Mitchell has got one, and Mitchell was actually, if I remember right, I think $10, requiring you to buy a permit to be on the street of Mitchell, and that's against state code. But Mitchell's got one that lists some of the criteria, and I'll also share that with you. I shared it with Greg, and that came from Ron.
Mr. I think that also kind of falls under if they're less than 49 cc's, those are not required to be, well,
Licensed. per se.
right, there's two different types of license, there's A and B, but if it's not plated, then you didn't have to have like your insurance on like you do for your car or your.
Right. But again, these, and I know Carl's heard me say this, I have a folder in Gmail called pending next meeting. And if something comes in that I'm looking at, just like these motions for this expense, when I got that information on the quote for the gearboxes, I moved that into a folder called pending next meeting. So when I do the script, I look at that folder. These are items I've had in my pending next meeting folder for at least a year, maybe 2 years. And I've just never reacted to them. And as I was going through it this time, yesterday when I put the script together, I decided, you know what? I'm gonna get rid of these. Either we're gonna react to them and do an ordinance, or I need to delete them and forget them. The other item that I have, and I sent this to Greg too, midsummer, Annette called me. A guy came in and wanted to do door-to-door sales.
Oh.
And he actually asked for permission. Well, that's news, because today I had 2 guys come down and knock on my door on Lafayette and wanted to sell me construction work. So we do have a peddlers section in the code. So I gave this to Greg as well, and I said, Greg, kind of the consensus from my opinion is, I don't want door-to-door knocking on my door to sell. And I said, I think consensus would be nobody else does either. So I said, does chapter 111 in our code book cover this? So again, and if not, then let him come back and recommend to us what we need to update that ordinance. Now, there is a peddler's license. If somebody wants to come in, and it's in our book, and peddle something, they can buy a peddler's permit, which we'd have to jerry-rig one to fill it out. And there's a fee, I don't remember what the fee is. But again, door-to-door salesman, again, just more teeth in a present ordinance. Then the last one, and I really need Wes to chime in on this, and I will meet with him later this week. We've talked around tap fees. We increased the tap fee to $850, right? We thought that would cover it. We've had at least 2 instances that I'm aware of due to sewer work and water work because of extra equipment needed. That $850 or that work to install it is down here at,
You talk about in the manor,
on 11th Street.
Hawks.
How, and then the water line for her son, and then we did sewer work for the other guy,
Bullock.
with the red roof. The town lost money on both those. Right, because we needed concrete in one, and we needed to rent a mini, because the hill that the guys had to dig up and find the water main was too steep for our backhoe. So we had no choice. In order to get the job done, we had to rent equipment. So I'd given this and asked, hey, on tap fees, pull Bedford's ordinance. But I want to go to Wes and say, Wes, you need to go back to every tap you've done this year, just like the new Nykirk house, right? And and even Wendell's would be an example, while we waived his fee, Wes knows what it's cost us in parts. And in the case of Bullock and how he could estimate what the labor was. My gut, knowing what I saw at Houck's and Bullock's, and I walked over and also looked at Scott Nykerk's new place, I think the fee needs to be raised to $1,000. And we need to put some teeth around it and have a document when they come in, or call Carla and say, right, new customer, you need to come in and fill out the paperwork, and oh, by the way, if you need work done, and they say, let's say they do, wanna run a new water line, here's the cost, right? But with a caveat of, there's also could be some time and materials cost over and above, like renting the mini down there for Bullock, right?
I was thinking, yeah, that would be the way to do it, is, I mean, if we need to have 1,000 fine, but if it's gonna be even extensive beyond that, we can figure out what our cost is and have them saying, yes, we'll
Right.
do that.
I mean, because you get into some of these and it's kind of unknown, right? But there's no way, and I preach this to Wes, there's no way a tap, whether water or sewer, the town should go in the hole for it.
No.
We're not in the business to pay for somebody's, right? And I wanna say it was some of the tap information Carla, and we've all got, I think she sent it out to all of us, quite a lengthy email. She went and checked with some of the surrounding communities on tap fees, both water and sewer, right? And I think we were one of the lowest ones of the bunch.
Yeah, she did.
Off the top of my head, I wanna say Bedford sewer tap is $1,500. Okay, so again, think about it. I'm gonna go to Wes, I don't know that I'll have anything for November, but I'm gonna go to Wes and push Wes as time permits, with everything else going on, to say, let's go back and visit every tap you've done this year, look at the cost, look at the materials, and let's put pencil to paper and figure out, were those other taps a loss to the town or not? So FYI, and again, I'd like to clean out my folder.
So that was five items.
Yeah, I combined the ORV and the mini bikes. 1, 2, 3, 4.
I've got storage containers, the
And then the building codes.
ordinance for water,
Right,
the bikes, the door-to-door, and the tap fees.
yeah, and then the ORV was the other one, which I think is part of, if we do the one for the mini bikes
Okay,
and golf carts. I think we need to be very specific in what needs to happen.
okay.
And to Annette's point, if there is motor size requirements by the state, we need to be in sync with that.
Right.
That's all I've got.
Okay, Steve,
That's
do you have
enough.
anything? Do you have anything?
I don't have anything other than we've been already covered.
Okay. Carl, you've already,
No, I've had my say.
okay, there being no other town business to come before this October monthly meeting of the Lake Town Council, I make a motion to adjourn this meeting at 7:59 PM EDT on October 27th, 2025. Is there a second to my motion?
Yes, I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Kansas City's playing Monday Night Football and it starts in 1 week.
Meeting is adjourned.